Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
What's up, champs? Welcome to another episode of the Short Shifts Fantasy Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Keeping Carlsson. I'm your host, Jeremy Brasillo, back on the mic for the first time in a while, and joining me tonight, my pal and yours, Shams Benamar. Shams, how's it been this last month or so since we've seen each other?
Oh man, it has been a while, and I had to double check this. I am doing better than Philly right now. I know they're going through a couple of injuries, but I just read the stat. For the third straight game in a row, they are going down 4-1 in the second intermission. So 3 games in a row, they've been going into the third, being down 3 goals, 4-1. So we're going to be talking about their goalie soon. So it doesn't look like it's going to get any better for them, but hopefully your fantasy matchups are going better than what Philly's going through the last few days.
It's certainly the time of year where the contenders and the pretenders are separating themselves out. Another team struggling, the New York Rangers, have given up 30 goals in their last 5 games. Not great. But into the news. First off, Robert Thomas was placed on IR and will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. I know we didn't really have a timeline on that injury before. Anything interesting with the new lines or power play units here, Shams?
So right now, I could go over all the lines. Had played a game before without Robert Thomas, and it was just believed to be a one-day thing. But now that we know it's 2 weeks, personally, I think there's not really much to take away from it. Basically, we had about 30 days of a couple stats. The average, literally only Robert Thomas was the only person that it was averaging over a couple points a game. So really, the only thing that I take from this is that Snuggerud is on I guess what you could call the top line, but he's also on the top power play. So maybe depending on what your league is, he might be interesting. But other than that, I think this is just a situation where a talent poor team is losing their best center. So it's just kind of worse for everybody.
I think most of the Blues players are streamer territory. I will certainly be looking to add them if they play a good off-night schedule or 3 games in 4 days. But you're right. There's no one else on St. Louis that I'm jumping to add, let alone someone who happens to be filling in for an injured Robert Thomas. More injuries. Dan Vladar is hurt in Philly, and Aleksei Kolosov got called up. Unsurprisingly, as you mentioned off the top, Philly's getting blasted. I think Kolosov got in the game and gave up 3 goals after Urson started it and gave up 3 goals. Not a great situation all around. Sounds like the Vladar injury isn't very serious, so hopefully he will be back soon for their sake. Josh Norris got injured. Tell me if you've heard that one before. Sounds like he's only day-to-day, though. Got a cross-check to the ribs. Shams, did you see anything else on this?
No, nothing much. It's basically, the nice thing is that they did some movement of placing some players at injury to activate and whatnot. So the nice thing is that Norris is off. It's not put on the IR as of yet. So goes with the day-to-day. And the interesting thing that I took out of this is that the lines have kind of shifted. They've kind of been spread out a little bit, but now we saw Thompson with Tuch and Benson, which really looks to me as a really just kind of a stacked top line. And the funny thing is I say Tuch is with Thompson on the top line, but Tuch is not on the top power play. It's Doan, Ostlund, Thompson, Zucker, and Dahlin. So if anyone's going to be getting value out of this, Noah Ostlund might be the person to look into, because ever since Zucker came back, that power play has been good. And in the first period against the Habs, it was 2 for 2. So it might be something to pay attention to, is just to have a piece of any part of that power play.
2 for 2, and both Ostlund and Josh Doan, the two probably lesser owned pieces of that power play, both had 2 points there. So very nice start for those two. Team-wide injury news with the Caps. Jakob Chychrun is back. Tom Wilson is skating but not playing today. Justin Sourdif is not skating. He was a bit of a streamer darling last week. And then on the Ducks, Carlsson, Gauthier, and Terry are all day-to-day, none of them placed on IR. I believe they're all practicing. Anything of note with those two teams?
So one important thing to note is that all but Carlsson is actually practicing. So Gauthier and Terry did wide rushes, but we didn't see Carlsson today. So they don't play today, so have to keep an eye on tomorrow, but that's not looking good for Carlsson, and probably just from an abstract point, their best player as well. So even with everyone, the other two back, it might be all for naught if they don't have Carlsson around. So pay attention to game day tweets. They're pretty good with the practice reports, so we'll just see if he's back or not. But it looks like that at least Gauthier and Terry are returning.
One other possible injury, Shayne Gostisbehere is under the weather, and Chychrun was running the top power play in Carolina. They don't play until tomorrow, so we won't know quite yet. Now we can talk about some outjuries, some happier news. Miro Heiskanen has missed 2 games with, I believe, a family matter. He's expected to return Sunday. Brandon Montour returned tonight for the Kraken in Boston, although they're down 3-1 and Montour doesn't have a point. And Adin Hill is back in the crease for Vegas, kind of out of nowhere. There wasn't a ton of news, and then all of a sudden he's back. Anything exciting about these guys? I'm assuming they're all owned, so not much actionable here.
Yeah, so a couple of quick things. At least at the start of the game, as you said, they're getting blown up, so things might change, is that Doan still had power play 1, so even with Montour back, it might be an easy in thing, but that's something to keep an eye on to see who has that power play, especially now that they're actually stacking a top power play. So right now, Doan still has that, so I wouldn't look at any changes him. And then also looking at Vegas with Hart having that injury and being placed on IR, even though Akira Schmid is like playing okay, I feel like they probably want to have Hill as more of the starter. So this might be a situation where, if I was to guess, it might be a 2 starts for Hill and then 1 for the backup. So I think this is going to be one of those situations where it's not a 100% starter role, but I think they would probably want him back, assuming that he's healthy enough to do it.
I would certainly be rushing to add Adin Hill in any leagues you're in that he's unowned. I doubt there's many, but if he is, I agree with you. I think he is the starter. I think he is going to get 55 start pace for the rest of the season. Even when Hart's back, I think it's going to be Hill's net until he falters, and I think he's just the better goalie of the 3. And maybe he got dropped with how nebulous that injury timeline was. One more potential outjury. It sounds like Will Smith may be back on Friday, although the San Jose line seemed to be clicking just fine without him, with Chernyshov and Graf playing in the top 6. Still exciting to get him back on Celebrity's wing or running another line. And the last point I wanted to bring up that I just thought was kind of interesting, with Braden Point injured, Tampa Bay's power play is using Jake Guentzel as a center. Instead of promoting Cirelli or Paul, they're running Guentzel, Kucherov, Hagel, Bjorkstrand, and Radish, with Guentzel taking faceoffs. At least last game on Tuesday, Guentzel went 0 for 3 in the dot. They play Friday, Sunday this week. We'll see if that sticks. But as much as faceoffs are a bit of an overrated stat in determining who wins a game, one of the places that are important is on the power play, because you waste so much time if you don't win those faceoffs. I've always felt that power play at end of game is where you want one faceoff specialist, but the season-long numbers for faceoffs don't necessarily correlate with wins or team quality. With that thought, let's head into a quick ad break and we'll be right back.
Every yard, every sack, every interception, and every touchdown with Pick 6, DraftKings' newest game. Every snap can turn into big-time payout. This isn't just watching the game. This is playing to win. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. The better your picks, the bigger your payout. It's that simple. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in Pick 6 credits with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. You know the game. Now make it pay. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. Play just $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Make the call, ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus award is non-withdrawable. Pick Six credits expire in 14 days. Terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
Welcome back, everyone. The short shifts bump strikes again as, while we were in our ad break, Brendan Montour picked up an assist. Nice to have him back, both for your fantasy team and for the Kraken. Before we go into hot cold, there was a listener question in the chat this week. Trev wants to know whether or not we'd hold Laferriere or Byfield through 2-game weeks. Next week, they only play Tuesday, Saturday. Tuesday's not a busy day. Saturday's pretty busy, so you may even just get the Tuesday game and then drop. But Laferriere has put up 4.91 Cuylle points per game over the last month and is currently centering line 1 with Kopitar out. And in Trev's question, I believe he listed Clarke here instead of Byfield. So we'll just do all three. Byfield and Clarke have both been very hot lately too. I looked into it while I was researching for the show, and I was surprised at the answer I came to. The answer I came to is they're all streamers, but the one I'm most interested in keeping is actually Clarke. Laferriere has been aided by recent injuries in his deployment. Since he got a hat trick on December 27th, he only has 4 points and 22 shots in 9 games. He's also power play 2. That's a streamer to me. Byfield, on the other hand, does have 8 points in his last 10, but only 21 shots. He's power play 1 and a fringe hold, in my opinion, and I think as the team gets healthier, I'm less and less interested in holding Byfield. I wouldn't fault you for wanting to hold Byfield through a 2-game week, though, especially if you can fit him on Saturday. Finally, Clarke has been hotter and may be hitting like the early career breakout. He's averaging 2.5 shots per game. He's getting points, power play time, and a ton of blocks, especially since most people are light on D. That may be a reasonable hold. Shams, where do you fall on these three?
I'm 100% on board with you with Clarke. It's honestly, it's the only thing that he needs to come against is basically his coach. Every beat writer I see is like, here's all these stats. Like, I could go on for an hour just listing off all of the platitudes I hear from like beat writers. And these are not your, cheerleader guys. Like, these would be the ones that like really are open to criticizing players. But like Clarke is the one that I feel like is the actual true talent on himself. And he just needs to get more ice time. And hopefully at some point, they play it more, but at the very least, he's producing with what he has now. And then if he gets even more, he might be, I'm not going to call him a Radish, like Darren Radish, but like he has the possibility of becoming like a Brock Faber, those kind of guys where you didn't draft him, but he could be someone really productive. So that's a person that I'd be tempted to keep depending on where my roster is. And then I'm with you is that Byfield, while he has the quality of skill, he's kind of on a like point streak, and I'm not really sure how long that's going to be sticking around. So after Tuesday, reassess where you are. And then Laferriere, really with him, I just think he's a product of the lines. So the nice thing with him is that he's hitting and blocking a decent amount. So if you have like a categories league where hits and blocks count, or the points league where those are valued more than the average league, I might be a little bit open to Laferriere sticking around for that. But if you're looking for more of just the normal points and goals, I probably have him at the bottom of the three.
I do have one league where hits are valued the same as the Cuylle values blocks, so like both of them are very valuable. And Laferriere is probably a hold for me in that league where I have him. Next up, some hot streaks. This hot streak got even hotter after I put him on the board, just so you know. Jonathan Toews, coming into the day, had goals in 3 straight and points in 7 of 10 and getting power play 1 time. He has since added another goal and 2 assists today. So Jonathan Toews looking like he's 10 years younger. Is this a must add? I'm kind of thinking I might have to add him, which is insane.
Yeah, well, the thing that makes me want to add him is that power play 1 time. If he's like, didn't have that power play 1 time, and he's also producing on that power play, which is nice, is that, we've seen, the situation of like a Nino Niederreiter or like an Iafallo randomly go off like and you just know, hey, it's just going to end at some point. But the fact that he's on that top power play with the powerful top line and Velarde, like, he is with, like, basically, like, good players, and he's put into a position to produce. So this is a situation where I am on board with, I can't believe this, is that, like, Jonathan Toews, like, I remember, I think it was maybe, like, 2 weeks ago, like, tweeting stats where it's like, it felt like it was like, I think it was a tweet I saw that was like, player injured 2 months ago has more goals than Jonathan Toews or something like that. Like, but now it's just flipped. So while it is partially due to the deployment, he's producing on that deployment. So there's no reason to take him off of that. So I would be 100% on board to ride the Jonathan Toews trade and just hope that it continues. And it looks like it will.
It does look like it. Yeah, at even strength, he's playing with Velarde and Perfetti, who, although they've been pretty bad this year as a line, I actually really like that line. I think that is a very serviceable second line in the NHL, even though the Jets are currently one of the worst teams in the league. Never would have guessed that. But I digress. Next up, we had what I was calling a cold streak, and now I've switched to calling a snoozer. Emmitt Finnie, despite playing on the Larkin line in Detroit, does not have a point in 10 straight games. He's a straight-up streamer, and a pretty bad one at that. Shams, you also had some line updates from today, though.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that, like, I used to be on the Finnie trade when he was with Larkin and Raymond, and then that was kind of interesting at that point, but I dropped him, I think it was like a few weeks ago. I think I saw today on our free agency tracker, he was 22% rostered. And while I understand that Detroit does have a good schedule this week, and before the lines I'm going to read out that he was playing with Larkin, I think he had like maybe like less than a couple point a game for the last like week or so. So basically, if you have him, even with this line change, I'm just saying drop him. Like, find someone else, use a move. I understand you might be losing games, but just like, I have zero interest in him. Now, for the interesting part is that these lines have been updated, is that we have the DeBrincat Copp Kane line sticking together. Andrew Copp has been playing well as the second line center, but the nice thing is that we have Larkin and Raymond back together on the top line, and it's James Van Riemsdyk is playing that left wing spot. So that is going to be an interesting line, is that he's probably rostered because James Van Riemsdyk is probably rostered because he was playing on power play 1, but now he's actually top line, top power play. So maybe in your shower leagues, like, I would be interested in rostering James Van Riemsdyk even on, say, like next week or like weeks where he's not a streamer like schedule. I'm really interested on him. Like, I've picked up James Van Riemsdyk in a couple, and with some injuries, it's a little bit different. I might be keeping him around going forward with this kind of deployment.
I do think he's a somewhat interesting deployment guy, but to circle back to Emmitt Finnie is probably hitting the rookie wall. He's a young guy, a late round or undrafted guy. I think he's probably just juiced for the year, like not used to playing the long seasons. So should not be on your team at this point. Another hot streak in a new scenario. Alexandre Texier is hot again in Montreal, and more interestingly, is seeing power play 1 time. Should he be owned in most leagues, Shams?
So, interesting thing to note for the power play situation is that it seems like I believe Dallas did this, or another team did this in the past, the season, is that they seem to have different power plays for different situations. So the last game or so, they swapped back to the normal setup that had Demidov and Lane Hudson as part of that power play 1. But it looks like, depending on the situation, they do like putting Texier and Noah Dobson out there. So just the fact that they have certain sub packages that they want to put Texier in that power play 1 when he's already on that top line with Caulfield and Suzuki, he's definitely an interesting player. To be straight up, like, I was considering adding him when it was just that line 1. So if you're telling me there's like, hell, even give me like a 20% chance or a 10% chance that like a game or two a week that he might show up on power play 1, I would be really interested in him as well. And definitely probably rostered already in leagues, but if he's around, definitely someone I'd be interested in.
I added him as a streamer this week, and yeah, I would definitely be considering holding him. Would you rather Texier or Toews? Like, both of them kind of getting deployment bumps. I think I'd rather Toews, but interested to hear what you'd say.
Man, honestly, that would be like a coin flip for me. I think I lean Toews just because I feel like he's more stable in his deployment. Like, they need him on that second line for sure, so he's probably going to be there. And then the fact that he actually has the power play 1 and it's not like a sub package, I think he's going to be more likely to produce. But if you're interested in Texier, like, I wouldn't be like saying it's like an absolute wrong choice if you choose the other side.
One of the things I think to keep in mind is positional eligibility there too. Last, we've got one more cold streak. I mentioned off the top how bad the Rangers have been. One guy really hurting from this is Will Cuylle. He's got 0 points in his last 9 games. At least he's hitting a lot, which honestly, he's hitting enough that it's even relevant in Cupful. He's putting up, Kiefer Sherwood type numbers of hits. But the Rags as a whole are a disaster. There's rumors that they may be trading Panarin. Maybe that opens up some role for him. But what are you doing with Will Cuylle at this point?
Yeah, I think it's, as you said, it's if the hits bring you value, you just kind of plug your nose and just kind of run with him. And then just really, probably the best way to look at it is I'm not looking to cut him, but if you have, like, say, a situation where you look at your free agency pool and for some reason there's like a hot, like, let's just say, I'm just making up a situation. Let's just say Jonathan Toews is a free agent in your league and Cuylle is your worst player. I would be open to making that move. But, like, say if you're in a situation where, like, you're in a tougher league and you have, like, some random streamer type, like you picked up a guy that's like an injury replacement, you probably don't need him anymore, or like someone that's a little less interesting, like Laferriere. Like, I would be maybe a little bit more interested in keeping Cuylle because I feel like the team needs him more. But, like, if he's your worst player, then honestly, now circling back, I might even actually want Laferriere more. Like, really, in the end, if you're fine, like, I would be fine with cutting him, but I wouldn't be searching to cut him, is probably where I land at.
I actually would be holding on to Cuylle. I think better days are ahead. He's been 3.44 points per game over the last 30 days, even with that awful cold streak in there. And the Rangers have one of the best playoff schedules, so having a 12-game, lots of off-night playoff schedule with dual wing eligibility, I would definitely be holding on to that. But that's all we've got time for. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed the show, please consider joining the Keeping Carlsson Patreon group at keepingcarlsson.com/patron. Super supporters receive ad-free episodes, and you can interact with Brian, Elon, the Short Shifts crew, and hundreds of other talented fantasy managers on our active Discord server. Check out GameDayTweets.com to get all the best info from Twitter without having to slog through the rest of that place. It includes team by team and searchable tweets by player name, and goalie recommendations for the confirmations there. That's my favorite part. Visit that site and the other great sites we use to research our episodes with at Yahoo, Frozen Tools, and Natural Stat Trick. Our intro and outro music were created by Pat Roach. Until next time, play smart, keep your shifts short.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.